I met my wife on a blind date. At least it was a blind date for me. I like to say that my wife has never been on a blind date. And this is why. It's back in the mid 80s. I'm 27 years old and I work in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. We have, where I work, our office administrator, Donna, tells me that her cousin lives very near where I live at, and that I should meet her, together, ask her out, basically have a blind date. So I politely tell her, yeah, that sounds like it would be nice sometime. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, no way, I wouldn't do that. I'm scared and everything else. So, but Donna continues pushing me every so often. She reminds me that she thinks that I should meet her cousin, that she's very nice and that I would like her. But she won't tell me. She doesn't tell me anything other than that. Just she's nice and I'll like her. So that makes me really concerned about, is there some kind of a surprise or whatever? And I'm just imagining worst case scenarios. And so I just continue to politely not take any action. I don't want to be blindsided by a blind date. So that continues until about a year later. I have this job offer from another company up in New York City, and I decide to take it. And Donna still is prompting me to ask her cousin out. So I figure, well, I'm leaving the area in a couple of weeks anyway, and Donna has been nice and helpful to me, so I'll be a sport and ask her cousin out. That way, if it's the worst case scenario that I'm predicting, then I'll be leaving the area anyway and nothing will happen. And so I asked her cousin, whose name is Gail, out. And I'm pleasantly surprised. Gail is attractive and has a nice personality and a great sense of humor. And Gail's fielding questions to me that I can answer, and they're actually in my area of interest. And this is great. I mean, there's none of those uncomfortable, awkward silences or pregnant pauses or any of those things I've kind of gotten used to with meeting someone new, first date scenarios. So I think, Gail is really special. I like this. And so over the next couple of weeks, I see Gail a couple more times. And then I move up to New York, but it's not really that far from the Philadelphia area. So we continue to see each other on weekends. And our relationship blossoms into a full-fledged romance, which continues right through marriage and children, and the love story continues 37 years later through today. And but this is why I say that Gail has never been on a blind date, because I still knew nothing about Gail when we went on our date, except that she was this nice girl. But it turns out Gail knew everything about me. Her sneaky cousin, Donna, who we both still love and are grateful to, had supplied Gail with everything that she had access to as an office administrator, things that would definitely violate all the privacy protection laws that we have today. She had given Gail my resume, photos of me that were like professional portraits plus action shots at business meetings. She had I don't know for sure, but I suspect she might have given her my pre-employment background checks and credit references and everything. So Gail's able to field these questions to me that she is sure that I'm going to know all about. So when I try to impress her by telling her I'm from Chicago, or I have an economics degree, or I spent a few years in the Army, she acts surprised, but she's not surprised at all. She knew it all. She knows my hobbies and interests. She's probably even seen my baby photos. I don't know. But so after all of that, so since she knew all about me at the time, including what I look like, I don't think Gail's participation in our first meeting qualifies as a blind date at all. I like to tease my wife that she should have tried a proper blind date sometime, because, they say that love is blind, and I think that might be true. because my first and only blind date produced the love of my life and not nearly that worst case scenario that I was worried about.